Welcome to today's video, everyone. Today is the first lesson in the Python for Beginners series that I will be making. So let's get started by figuring out what Python is. Python is a high-level programming language which can be used to do a bunch of cool programming, from making games all the way through to data science. Due to its flexibility and accessibility, Python has found popularity with some of the world's biggest organizations such as Google, NASA, Disney, and even the CIA. In this tutorial series, we're going to be covering all the basic concepts of Python, and we'll build some example projects together to get you started on your learning journey. So without further ado, let's get going. So let's just jump in and look at our very first line of Python code that we're going to write today. What we're going to do is we're going to write a simple print statement that will display hello world down here in the terminal when you run the code. So to do so, we're just going to write print like that. We're going to do an opening bracket and a closing bracket, and we're going to put some quotation marks inside, and we're going to do hello, and we're going to do world, and we'll put an exclamation mark at the end. Why not? So then we're going to press Ctrl and F5 to run it if you're using Visual Studio Code like me, and down here you can see that we've got hello world in the terminal. Now, you don't have to print hello world, you could print anything. So for example, you could do Python is awesome, like that, and when we run it, as you can see down here in the terminal, we get Python is awesome. So now that we've got a simple print statement down, let's move on to look at some simple operations. So the operations that we'll be covering in this video are pretty straightforward. We're going to have additions, which will be plus signs like this, and then we are going to have subtractions, which, as you can probably guess, will just be a minus sign as such. We're going to have multiplications, which we will do with an asterisk, and we're going to have divisions, which we will be doing with a /. And let me just comment out this line of code so we don't get an error. So to do an addition, we're just going to write out a print statement again, but without the quotation marks inside, and we can do 2 plus 2, and when we run the code, you can see down here in the terminal, it gives us the correct answer of 4. So that is an addition. As we can see, that's the addition covered. So if we wanted to do a subtraction, it's the same again, print statement 2 minus 1, and as you can see, we're going to just comment this out as a subtraction, and when we run the code again, you can see it gives us the correct answer of 1. To do a multiplication, again, we're just going to write another print statement, and we can do 5 times 5, and as you can see down here in the terminal, we will get the correct answer of 25. Let me just put multiplication there real quick, and then print 10 divided by 2 with the / there, and you can see that is a division. And when we run the code, you can see we get the correct answer of 5. And as you can see, it's actually 5.0 there in Python. I'll be explaining that in the next segment, which is actually a good time to cut to it. And we will be learning some data types. So now that we know what a print statement is and we know some simple operations, we're going to have a look at some data types in Python. 2 of them you've actually already met. So we have a string. A string is just basically a line of text that is in quotation marks, such as hello world, as we've seen earlier. Then we're going to have integers, which are whole numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, like so. And then we're going to have what is called a float. So a float is just a decimal number, e.g. 5.0, as we've seen down in the terminal earlier on. So they are 3 of the main data types that you will be working with in Python. So let's see how they work. So for example, if you wanted to print a string, you do that. You do the print statement with your quotation marks, hello world, and that's going to be a string. And if you wanted to do print 2 plus 2, that's going to return an integer. And if you wanted to do print 10 divided by 2, that's going to return a float value. So let me just run this code and I will show you down in the terminal here. As you can see, we've got hello world there, which is our string. We've got 4, which is our whole number, meaning it's an integer. And we've got 5.0, meaning we have a float value. So that is pretty much all the data types covered, the basic 3 anyways. So let's move on and take a look at something else. So next up we have exponentiation, and that is basically just raising one number to the power of the other, and it is done by using a double asterisk just like this. So an example of it would be print, and then we're going to do 4, and we'll raise it to the power of 2 to get 4 squared. And as you can see down here in the terminal, that gives us 16. So it doesn't just have to be to the power of 2, we could do it, for example, to the power of 4. And as you can see, we get 256 in the terminal, and so on and so forth. So that covers exponentiation at its most basic level. We will later in the series be taking a more detailed look at exponentiation, but for a basic level, that is pretty much all you're going to need to know right now. So next up is quotients and remainders, and as you can see, I've already written us some notes here explaining what each one is. So a quotient is the quantity of a division, for example, how many times one number can go into another number, and we'll get that using the floor division operator, which is just 2 forward slashes. An example of this would be print, and then we can do 10 / 3. And when we run the code, as you can see, we get 3 because 3 goes into 10 3 times. Now remainders are simple enough to understand. It is just what is left over from a division, and we can get them by using the modulo operator, which is the percentage sign. So for example, print 10 percentage 3, and then when we run the code, as you can see, we get 1. Because as we learned in the quotient line there, 3 can go into 10 3 times, and we have a remainder of 1. So that is quotients and remainders covered, and now we will go and discuss what we'll be learning in the next video to continue our journey. So well done if you've made it this far into the video, guys and gals. You have officially learned the very basics of programming with Python. In the next video, we're going to be taking a deeper look at strings and what you can do with them. We're going to introduce you to some variables as well. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments and I will answer them as soon as I can. But until next time, peace out.